Hi everyone, Emma here from Bennett Babies. Okay, so today I'm going to take you through how I am securing my two-part paw. This is River. How I'm going to secure her head onto her body because I have moulded and pawed them separately. Okay, so before I have started, I've made sure that I've had a look at my paw and fixed any little imperfections. I had a little bubble in the ear on this side. It's just so much easier to be able to do that when you can move your head around before it's put on the body. Any little bubbles you've got anywhere else. So make sure that's all fixed up. And then I'll see if I can show you her neck. Okay, so this was quite rough, so I've cut that and I've actually used some of my silicone. Sorry, I've got a new stand, and every time I move it's wobbling this camera, so please bear with me with that one. I will find a better solution for that for the next video, hopefully. Okay, so I've used my silicone. So I use exactly the same product that I have poured my baby in. So I use EcoFlex 20 in Slacker, and I pre-mix that and I wait for it to set up just a little bit, pop a little bit over, just because you want a flat surface, It does actually look like there's a big dip there, but there isn't. There's a tiny little one, so that's fine, because we want to make sure that it sits flush against each other. You want the neck joint to be flat, and this one as well. Okay, right, so I have pre-mixed the same colour. So I have kept, I mix my colour in the part B of my EcoFlex 20, and I make sure I leave some of that because I want exactly the same colour, so I don't have to worry about matching the colour after the fact. And I have mixed up my EcoFlex 20 A and B and my Slacker, and then I wait for this to set up a little bit because I want this to be a little bit thicker. Now this is quite possibly a little bit too thick, and it takes quite a while for it to start setting up, depending on what heat you're working in. So what I tend to do is I keep mixing them. So I'll mix a little pot, and then 5 minutes later I'll mix another little pot, and then go on. So by the time this is too cured to work with, I can then throw this and move on to my next one. And I work in little amounts, so hopefully I don't throw too much away. So I'll just see how this one's going. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop a little bit over this side. Now this is nice and thick, so it hasn't got any run to it at all, so this isn't going to drip down. And you don't want it to be too thick, but you want it to be able to, when you put your neck joint onto the body neck joint, you want there to be no gaps in between. I'm also going to pop a little bit on here. I do occasionally, I'm just putting the tiniest little bit on there, I do occasionally preheat my silicone, and it just helps it dry. I haven't done that today, I've just forgotten because I'm videoing instead. Okay, so a little bit here, and then I'm going to pop these heads together. I'm going to pop this head on the body rather. I'm just going to keep that there. Now you want to get yourself into a position where you're comfortable to hold this. This is how I do it anyway. Now I have my fan brush and I have my thinner all ready to go in this pot here. And you've got to seriously concentrate, because if you look away, then you're going to move just a little bit. Right, now I've already mixed up another batch. Now this one's much runnier. So what I do is straight away I come in and I'll pop this round whilst keeping as steady as I possibly can, and I get my spatula and just swoop this over whilst holding my hand really steady. Okay, now I'll get my fan brush, brand new fan brush. I'll dip it in the thinner just drag it off on one side, and then we can come round and just really lightly swoop this round. And I'll come in from the other side as well, just to make sure that that's nicely even. And this is going to be a little bit harder for me today because usually I can lean right over, but I can't today because I've got the camera in the way. So I'm hoping that I can see well enough. Okay, right, so I'm happy there. You keep really, really still with your hand. I'm going to get my heat gun now, and I put it on the lowest heat that I possibly can. And I'm going to heat this from a little bit of a distance, really gently and slowly. Bear in mind when you turn your heat gun on, if you've got your hand too far under the back of this head, it's going to really burn your fingers. So before you start, just make sure your hand and your arm are out the way enough for you to be able to do this. Hopefully I can film without getting in the way too much. Make sure through this process that your head is squished down as much as possible, because you want to be able to get a really, really good seal, because if there are any air bubbles, then obviously you're not going to get a very good connection between the two. You have to make sure they're very, very clean as well. You want to have nothing that's stopping the cure. Hopefully that camera didn't wobble too much. I will sort that out for the next one. Right, so I have a really nice seal on this now. So if I wanted to, I could take my hand away, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep that down a little bit. I'm going to come in on this side. See if I can attach this a little bit more. Now I know there's lots of different ways of getting this job done, but this is just the way I do. Right, okay, so I'm going to let go at this point. And I'm going to get one of my makeup sponges. Now, you have to test your makeup sponges every single time you use one, like a new pack. They have to be latex free, and a lot of makeup sponges that you buy off of Amazon, even though they're latex free, they say they're latex free, they're either not, or vitamin E doesn't work well with the silicone. So yeah, you have to find really good ones. And then when you buy a new pack, I do suggest testing every time. Okay, just got a little bit of a bubble in there, so I'm going to cut that to fill that in a little bit. Okay, so I have just come in with my this is my makeup wedge, and I've dipped it in some isopropyl alcohol. Now I do this just purely to cool the silicone down, because I want to work a little bit faster. So this is going to cool this down. I can check it with my fingers, make sure it's not too hot. But whilst I am waiting for this to cool down, because you don't want to then be putting more product on top of your neck that's too hot, because it's going to cure too quickly and you're not going to get a smooth finish on the neck. So I will then go through, and on this one I have a little air bubble just on the thumb, and you know, any little bits that you've got on your pore that you need to fix, you can come to whilst that is cooling down. That way you're not losing time and having to sit around and wait. And again, coming in with my fan brush, I've just used one of the, like a really cheap little brush. I get these in packs of 20, I think. just because they don't last very long. And I can come in with my fan brush. And just smooth this little one out. Again, making sure that my silicone isn't too runny, because I want it to be able to stay where I put it. It's nice and workable at this point. Okay, back in with my heat gun, just really lightly. That there and just make sure that it's not leaning on anything, but it's probably not dry enough at this point for it to be touching anything. Okay, I'm going to come in and have a quick feel of this. Now I find this 99% alcohol is always really cold, so it really helps cool this down. You do want to make sure that you're waiting for this to flash off completely. You don't want to work with just going to move this table over just a little bit, see if I can get that away so it's not wobbling so much. Yeah, you don't want any of your alcohol still left behind on your neck, because it's going to potentially cause problems with when you put your silicone on. So wait till that's flashed off completely. It evaporates really quickly. Okay, so going back in with another trying not to get too in the way of the camera so you guys can see. There's a little bit of a air bubble here, so I'm just going to go in there, fill that, and come around again. This is much more tricky for me with this camera being in the way, so let's come back in, and I have my fan brush. I do a nice swoop all the way around, and then just make sure you wipe your brush off after each little swoop, re-dip, and then come round again. I use little puppy pads to put down on my table, which I find work really well. They're lint free. They help dry your sculpt off after you've washed them. Make sure you're coming around your neck joint as well, in case there's any little bumpy bits, because you want everything to be really smooth. Okay, I think we're doing really well. I'm back in with the heat gun. There we go. Okay, as you can see, my mixture is set enough that it's not going to be running. So where I put it, and then where I have smoothed it out, is where it's staying, which is fantastic. Now again, you want this on the really light setting, and you want your gun to be far enough away, because you don't want any problems with bubbling or burning of the silicone. You can leave it to set up without the heat gun for sure. I'm a little bit impatient, I don't like to wait that long. going to set up quite nicely and quickly as well, because it was already slightly warm. Okay, great. So I'm going to come back round now and just check this finger and come back in. Do another little patch. And you can see here that this is a exact match because it's the same colour I've poured in, so you won't be able to see any of these little fixes. Okay, that's a seamless little line. I'm going to come around and just very lightly speed the cure up on that one. Now I've got my I've got a lazy Susan under here. That's really helpful because I like to be able to spin my work round. I've also got one of these giant chopping boards, and I cover them up with just cling film, cling wrap, and then I will flip the board and pop the baby on the other side, and you have to keep doing that. That's the best way I've found to do it. Is a bit of a pain in the bum though, so if anyone's got any better suggestions, then I'm all up for that. Do let me know, because it does take time having to rewrap them. I have several and then I just swap them over. Okay, right, I'm gonna leave that down there. I'm gonna spin this one round and just have a look at this one. Here we go, we've got another little fix here to do. Back in with my 99% alcohol. Just to help cool that down. I'm going to give her a good spin round so I can see how we're doing. Okay, so I'm really happy with how that's looking. Got a little bit here that I need to get rid of. Right, so I think I'm going to do one last little swipe round because I'd like to build under the chin here just slightly, just to even it up a little bit. You see we're slightly higher on one side than we are on the other, and that won't make a difference to how well your neck is secured onto your body, but it's just aesthetically pleasing to be, you know, symmetrical on your fixes. So I think I might do one side first and then spin round to do the other. There was just a little bit of a dip in that one. Just refilling my thinner because we do want enough in there to be able to dip your fan brush in. Okay, great. Right, so I'm going to spin her around this side. So unfortunately, I don't think you're going to be able to see this too well. However, I can't get to this little area if I don't. That's it. I'm going to squeeze in just underneath her chin and her neck. So let's do that. And I'm swiping up rather than round. There we go. I just make sure everything is smoothly. There we go. Like that little swipe created a tiny little air bubble, so you do have to be a little bit careful. Give it a little check over. Yep, I'm really happy with that. Okay, so back round to heating your silicone just slightly. Okay, so I'm going to go around and just double check all the other parts of my baby before I turn her. I want to make sure that this is completely cooled before I turn her over. So I'm going to cut off now, finish my other little bits and pieces so the video isn't too long, and then I will come back and start the video again before I turn her over so I can show you what I'm doing. Okay.